Hi, welcome to Alterian Learning. This video is going to talk you through creating a basic track campaign in Campaign Manager. The example being used is a simple email promotion campaign. When you create a new campaign, you get the option to create a track or a grid segmentation. This one's going to be a track segmentation campaign. The campaign can be named and a description provided by clicking on the information icon here. The first things that need to be considered are the start, stop process and end date. The end date is important because once this has passed, the campaign is marked as complete and it cannot be restarted and no response history will be collected. If you want the campaign to stop processing, so moving recipients around the campaign or sending out communications, but you still need the response history to be collected, you can use a stop process date. There's also the option to have no end date by unchecking it here. I want to stop this campaign processing in 2 days' time, but I want to continue collecting the response data for 2 weeks to see if my emails were successful. The campaign key needs to be selected. This is the object of your campaign, for example customers, households or maybe companies. It must be a unique field in the data, and the options will be set up by your system administrator. For more information on any of these options, please refer to the product help. The next step is to set up the tactics. You can think of a tactic as a marketing placeholder. It's what's implemented in the campaign when sending out communications to recipients. Each tactic can contain one or more tactic outputs. If you think of a tactic output as the communication that's being sent. The type of tactic output that you select depends on the type of communication you want to include in the campaign. You'll have different options here depending on how you communicate with campaign recipients. Send a message is the Alterian Email Manager tactic output, and it links directly to your email manager accounts. Every tactic output must have a name, as this is stored in the history tables. The account is selected here. On the next tab, the email creative can be selected, and the email content at the bottom. On the Setup Message tab, the fields need to be completed to specify the send information. The recipient email field should be mapped to the email address field in the data, in this case email address on the customer table. Recipient alias I'm mapping to full name in the data. This is commonly the recipient's name or email address. For the subject line, I'm going to use Email Manager variables that you can see already exist in this creative, but be careful of spammy words or phrases here. The variables that display in the email creative I'm mapping to relevant columns in the data. And promo code I'm mapping to a global campaign manager variable that was created previously. Now my tactic is set up, I'm going to define the audience. On the audience tab you can specify an inclusion segment and an exclusion segment as required. Below both sections is the option to select a pre-created segment or to create a new one. For this promotion I'm going to include all my customers that live in France. As with any segment, it's best practice to set the resolution level before adding any data. There is the option to lock the inclusions after the first execution, meaning that no new recipients will enter the campaign, even after a data load when there may be new recipients that meet the audience criteria. The next step is setting up the campaign flow, which is done on the Tracks tab. You can think of a track as a stage in a campaign. In each track, tools are added that define what happens to recipients at that stage. Every track campaign has a start track. It can't be deleted or renamed. More tracks can be added by clicking the black plus at the bottom of the screen. I'm going to rename these to Implementation and End. The tools can be added to the tracks either by clicking in the drop-down and selecting, or dragging them in from the Tools menu. The campaign I'm creating is going to do a channel check to ensure the recipients are happy to be contacted by email, then set the promo code variable value, send the email, and finish all recipients in the end track. In the Start track, I'm adding a waterfall tool to do my channel check. This provides a segment area where data can be added to create different segment options. In this case, I'm adding the Channel Preferences column. When the column is dropped in, a branch for each value in the column is created, and a remainder. As this is a waterfall, I'm setting the dedupe at the customer level. The recipients that have opted to receive email will be sent to the implementation track, and everyone else will be sent directly to the end track. The action of moving to a new track is achieved by using the Go To Track tool. I'm adding a Go To Track tool to the email branch and to the bottom of the track, which will pick up the rest of the audience. In the implementation track, I'm adding the Set Variable tool to assign the promotion code from the pre-created variable. Followed by an Implement Tactic tool, which will implement the email tactic. And following that with the Go To Track tool, sends recipients to the end track after the email has been sent. So, the whole campaign audience will end up in the end track, with those that have opted to receive emails going through the implement track and being sent the promo email first. I'm not adding any tools to the end track, it's just an endpoint that enables clear visibility of recipients that have finished in the campaign against those that are still processing through it. The time tools for each track have been left as do immediately for this example, but they do need to be carefully considered when designing your campaign. See the Campaign Manager Track Time Tools video for more information on this. Before starting a campaign, it needs to be validated to check for any missing information or tools that haven't been set up correctly. On the Overview tab is the option to validate, and if there are no edits required, start the campaign. Once the campaign is running, the progress can be tracked on the Activity Log, State and Totals tab. Thank you for watching.